Welcome back. Today we're going to change the water pump on the Jeep because it's dripping. It's a bit early, but I think it's got about 70,000 miles or 65,000. I run a relatively high belt tension because of my different belt arrangement here, so it's possible. And it was an aftermarket part. We got a new one, and just take the old one out, put a new one in. Should be relatively straightforward, but there are a few tricks actually. The most interesting thing is actually got a new pump here, and we found that the impeller is actually made of plastic. The old ones are pressed steel, but this is plastic. So we'll see. Don't know if I like that. Comes with a gasket, about 50 quid or so. Alright, let's take the old one out. To get it out, get the fans out, to get some room, get the belt off. You'll only need to loosen that ball and just wind the alternator back so you can actually pull it. Before you take the belt off, there are some bolts down here. I'll make sure that later. Loosen them before you take the belt off, otherwise you need to counter hold it somehow, and makes it easier if the belt is on. We'll show that when the fans are out. So fans are only 4 screws here, and then you can take them out. I don't have the stock fan. I've got an electric one. Alright, let me take the fans out. So we got the fans out, and as mentioned before, get the bolts loose off the fan. If they rotate, just put a nut or something into the steering pump bolts, because you need to loosen the steering pump anyway to get the water pump out, otherwise it's in the way. Yeah, it needs a bit of fiddling to get it out. It's just tight. The worst thing is actually the bottom clip on the hose. Let me show that. So these are the bolts for the pulley. Just get them loose here, but at the moment it's not gonna work. You need to block it. Then this thing, you need to loosen. Need to take those bolts out, and you need to loosen the 2 bolts on the steering pump, and then push a little bit forward. There is another bolt on the back. All you need to do is get a little bit of clearance to get it out. Yeah, it's a bit fiddly, and down there here, that's the clip for the bottom radiator hose, which is a bit of a pain to get out, but that's how it is. Alright, let's get these bolts loose. They're all loose now. So you can just take it off and pop the pulley off, and then you've got the belt off, but you need to do the alternator. Well, you need to return the alternator anyway, otherwise you can't get it on when you're done. Alright, let's take the belt off and get to the water pump. So we got a thermostat housing off, which is that one, because I'm going to replace the gasket, and we need to machine that surface a little bit, or at least flatten it, because last time when I did that, it was hard to get it sealed. We need to make a new gasket as well, because that's rubbish. The reason why I take it out is, first, for access, it's easy to access, and second, I'm going to replace the thermostat, just because we are there already and I have a new one. We got all the hoses off, so it's this, there's one here, and I think another one down there, 13mm bolts. Just get them out, and then if these bolts are loose, you can actually tilt the water pump out hopefully. It's a bit tricky with that hose, but yeah, it should work. That's the way. It looks like it's actually pissing at the flange here rather than. We'll see it later. There is a hole here in the water pump. There is a hole, and if there is rusty water or something rusty visible at the bottom, the seal of the water pump is leaking. But we can see a lot of rusty water here. Oh, yeah, brown fluid, and it also was raining on this side, so I lost quite a bit of water. Alright, let's get the water pump off and have a look at it. So we got the stuff out. If you look at the pump, we can see it wasn't leaking. So the pump itself is fine, at least the seals of the pump, but we see some signs of cavitation here. And the impeller has some signs of cavitation as well. It's got 65,000 miles, so we're not going to replace it, we're not going to reuse it. But what we see is it started leaking here. And worst thing is actually we broke one bolt. So if you look down here, that bolt, this is actually going into the waterway, so this needs sealant. This is a blind hole, and this one seems to be a blind hole as well. At least it's not going into the water. Still possible it goes into the oil, who knows. But we need to get that out, and then you need to make all these surfaces squeaky clean, really clean. Make sure they're all flat. Otherwise it's just leaking again. It's because it's all cast iron. You need to really scrape it clean. Put some sealant there, especially at the top, because the design is a bit poor. There's only 2 bolts here, and it usually starts leaking at this corner. It's just how it is. And you can see here it was pissing out here and then just draining down here, and that's why we always had some puddles here. So first thing, we need to get that bolt out. First we clean it, then possibly weld a nut on. Put some penetration oil on, and yeah, I think it's just rusted into the block. I didn't replace the bolts last time. It's the first bolts, and they need a bit of torque to get it sealed. Maybe it was a bit too much last time, I don't know. Anyway, it didn't even turn. It's just the head snapped off, and we can see it was actually here. It was really baked into that hole, so it did probably a tenth of a turn, and then the head just came off. Unfortunately, every time you start working on a Jeep doing a simple job, it's always getting more than you're expecting. That's the way it is, but we're gonna do it. Alright, let's get that bolt out. That's the thermostat. It looks okay, but it's got 150,000 miles or 160,000 miles, and that's the thermostat housing. We need to scrape that surface, or at least we need to scrape the gasket off, and then we check the surface. Worst case, we give it a skim with a fly cutter, just to make sure it's absolutely flat, because you got the same sealing problem as on the water pump with this thing. Good idea is actually taking the sensor out and clean it to get rid of the gunk. Makes it a bit more responsive, and yeah, make sure there's no other gunk inside. Yeah, basically just give it a wash, and again, the thermostat is just going to be changed. I didn't have any issues, but I got a new one, so why not? Okay, let's clean that gasket. We put some penetration oil on. and then I think we weld the nut on straight away and try to wiggle it loose, because the weld may help to expand and contract it, so probably it gets loose, I don't know. It appears that there was water seeping out or seeping in, because there's a lot of aluminium corrosion on it, so it's quite possible that this is pretty badly baked into the block. It's cast iron, so yeah, worst case we're going to drill it out, but I try to avoid to drill it because these bolts are pretty hard. I did it once and it was a bit of a pain. Alright, let's see what we do. The next thing is on the new water pump. Obviously that pipe doesn't come with it. We need to unscrew it, and what I do, I make a mark on this one on the new water pump to get it aligned, because when you put some sealant in or Teflon tape and you have to realign it, you're breaking the seal and the thing starts pissing again. We don't want that actually. It was tight, okay, it was actually leaking here in this area. That's just the way it is, there's nothing you can do. Alright, gotta find a nut which fits there. Hopefully that's enough. You don't want to melt too much. Spray them WD-40. Hopefully the expansion from the welding takes it far enough, so move it out. So let's try that, and we'll come back. Here we got the sucker. There is water on this side, so there was some sealant here. The bolt is very brittle. Don't know what material that is. I had to do it again. I welded one nut on and it just broke off, another piece of it. So maybe it was stretched already, I don't know. But the second time it worked, luckily, and another getter out. Lucky one. Okay, let's scrape the surface clean, get all the gunk out there, and as mentioned before, everything's going to be squeaky clean. What we're also going to do is we replace the bottom clip, which is one of these, with a proper hose clip. The problem is it's so difficult to get there. I rather use a normal hose clip, because you can get there with a wrench. If you use a stainless one, they don't rust. It's always advised to use stainless because everything is sprayed in water here, and in the winter time we have a lot of salt on the road, so everything starts corroding. Okay, that's a bit of a relief to get that thing out. Let me get down there. Here we are, here. It was the sucker arm. I'm gonna find the tap and run a tap through these threads. I don't know what thread it is. It's something Imperial, I think. Yeah, American actually. I think it's some UNC or UNEF. We'll find something. The bigger problem is a bolt. We'll see what we can find. Alright, yeah, as you might notice, I'm actually relieved, because drilling here with an angle drill or whatever is a pain in the neck, and then you're going to be careful that you don't drill in your cast cylinder head and things like that. No, it's actually the block, no? Yeah. And then it starts here, so that's the block. Anyway, we need to get this rubble out here, because we don't want the shit in the cooling roller here. There's some more stuff down here. Yeah, we need to get that out. Anyway, one done, next one.